episode of Pretty City Podcast, where we discuss career, culture, and the commitment to being our best selves. I'm your host, Lauren A., and I know it has been a long time. I literally say this every episode at this point. And it's funny because I told myself in 2024 I was going to be more consistent with the podcast, and that is my absolute intention. This podcast is my baby, so I found myself, I was like, oh my gosh, it's been almost a month since I put out an episode. Here I am on a Friday night. It is like 12 o'clock midnight where I am. And instead of being in these streets, instead of spending all of this money on inflation raised, cocktails and having a good time, I'm here, dedicated, okay, to creating this content for you guys. So much has happened in the past month. I don't even know where to start. Honestly, I just remembered this is our 25th episode. If I had some cheers, it'll go right here. Oh my gosh, look at us. Episode 25. I think my 2-year anniversary is this year. So that goes to show you, right? 25 episodes in 2 years, or 25 episodes in a year and a half. So that's kind of funny. However, I am proud because, our subscribers, you guys have stuck with me through this whole time. I gained new subscribers in the past few months, with the phenomenal interviews that we've had. And so welcome if you're new to episode 25. If you're, a day one, thank you for being here. Thank you for your support. That does not go unnoticed. But so since it's 25, I'm not gonna lie to you, I did not create an outline. If you know me, you know that when it comes to my creativity, I like to have an outline. I like to know where I'm going, what I'm doing, all that good stuff. Well, for 25, we're just gonna ad-lib. How about that? We're going to talk about all the things, all the foolishness, but then also some things, that are important to us, some goals. Let's start with, there was a clip that I saw not too long ago about something that I thought was kind of funny because as I've, started to trickle into my early 30s, I have noticed that I'm not the same person I was like 5 years ago, which is completely fine because you never should be the exact same person you was 5 years prior. However, I do understand that the things that I actually like now in my 30s are completely different. The food that I eat, my taste level, my tolerance level, okay, is completely different than it was 5 years ago. My prayer life, my relationship with God, my relationship with my friends, my romantic relationships, like what, I like in a partner and what I don't like in a partner, how I advocate for myself. All of these things have literally changed in the past 5 years. And as these things change, as I've grown into my womanhood and who I am, I've kind of embraced the auntie role, right? Everybody wants to call everybody an auntie. That's a popular thing on social media. If you are, if you've breached the age of 30, you are an auntie. And while it starts off as a cute little joke, right? It starts off as, auntie got the money. Auntie doesn't have any kids. Auntie's a fun one. She travels the world. She has a man for every occasion. Like, that's the auntie vibes, right? But then she also has a little old school to her. She has, she has an air of arrogance or kind of like confidence about her. Like, that's the auntie vibes. And then if the person is younger than you, they're most likely going to call you auntie, just as a symbol of respect. So there was nothing wrong with that initially. But then I saw this clip from this woman. I want to say her name is Jackiana, who basically said that, she wanted to kind of disown that auntie title. So check this clip out.
I've been un-auntying my public persona, if you will. I'm growing into the next stages of my life, and I'm gonna be looking at other people who have done it already, but they see me as their elder, but they're really my elder. Who is the big sister to the big sister? When you're young, being mature, it's like a flex, right? It's like a real flex. Then you get to your mid-30s and you start looking back at what are supposed to be your youthful years, and you're like, wait a minute, so I've just been an adult my whole life? So I've just been wise my whole life? I'm reclaiming my time. I just woke up one day and I was like, you know what? Wisdom, it's not my entire personality trait. And also, I don't know everything. The people that are looked at as like aunties and, you know, the people that you want to be when you grow up, when that person makes a misstep or when that person does something that's like slightly less than perfect, it's judged typically 10 times harder. It's hard for people to see you as a real person. I never really got to be young. My childhood was terrible. We ain't doing no story times on that one. Then I got to my 20s and it's like I had to be 5 years older than I really was. Then you get to 30 and everybody's treating you like in your 40s. And I'm just like, you get to protect your youth and enjoy yours. Let me enjoy mine now.
So, I get it. I totally get her point when she's saying, her whole life she has spent being responsible. Majority of her life she has spent being responsible. She spent kind of getting her affairs in order, being her career, being number one, and kind of carrying this facade about her. And then now as you're in your 30s, you're starting to feel like, well, did I even live? Like, did I even not sow your oats, like anybody trying to say go crazy, but but like, did I live the life to the fullest in my 20s like I should have? Or was I so focused on being responsible, so focused on living up to the name that was been given to me by like my family or my friends, that I just kind of played it safe? And actually, I get it. I think for myself personally, I've spent a large part of my life being responsible. Like, I don't get it twisted now. I had a good time. Definitely had a good time. I went to school. High school was a good time for me. I had my circle of friends. I wasn't uber popular. I feel like, most people recognized who I was. And then even so, like, my circle of friends were very tight and we had a ton of fun together. We still had our parties. We still skipped class. But we still had our, grades in order. Like, we still were A and B students. We still had boyfriends. We played sports. So although we weren't the most popular people in school, we had a good time. So I wouldn't trade that for anything, because that's not even my stilo to really be. Look, see, that was an auntie phrase, my stilo, right? That's not even my stilo to be the most seen, but the people who I really mess with. And that's kind of like how I carried myself from high school to college. It was the same thing. My circle of friends, we had a ball. We traveled, we had parties, we fellowship together, we shopped together, we cooked together. We literally had a little family of friends, of us together. And so when you have that, like, you don't really miss out on being the loudest in the room or the most seen. So with my good times that I had in high school and college, I still feel like I could have done more. Like, growing up, I've always been, an academic or a reader and stuff like that. So, I felt like I couldn't do too much, because then it would kind of conflict with the persona that I've made for myself. Right. So I did some, but I didn't push the gear on that, at a lot of times. And while that could be a good thing, right? Because, it probably saved me from a lot of headache. God knows, the situations and the men and the, things that I could have taken me, off of my path. So I can understand how, me being cautious and a little conservative saved me. But now that I'm in my 30s, I kind of think, I'm in my like chapter, 3 or whatever. And I'm feeling like, I could do a little bit more. I could start seeing some things that I've always wanted to see. I could start taking off of work a little bit more to, actually go to events and go on trips that I've always wanted to go on. I can start, supporting my friends with their kids. I can start really taking my relationships more seriously. Like all of those things, I feel like now in my 30s, like now that I have the mind and the patience and the fortitude too to actually do it, like I'm actually going to do it. So I feel her when she's saying like, don't call me auntie anymore, like, because you're aging me and I'm already a person who feels like I'm older than what I am based off of the life that I lived. You know what I'm saying? So I think that was one of the things that resonated with me these past couple of weeks when I saw that clip, because while calling me an auntie is, kind of cute. Like, who everybody wants to be the rich auntie with the poodle and the, trips and the fine man and the, no kids and all stuff like that. However, don't do it in a way that you aging me. Don't do that. Don't do that. I'm still young. I still have a life to live. It's despite what these male podcasts say, despite what some of these podcasts say about how you're worthless after the age of 30, I think that only feeds into the narrative of life being over at a certain point, or if you didn't do it by this time, then it's too late. Like, who are you to tell me that? Who are you to say that? Like, who are you to say that I can't recreate myself, or I can't evolve throughout life? So you want me to hit a number and say, well, all the decisions that I've ever made, everything that I've ever done, if it hadn't happened right now, then life is over. That's insane. Like, I think that's insane, but it's also counterproductive, because we are entering a society where there's so much knowledge out here. You can do whatever you want at whatever age you want, and succeed in it. Why? Because you have the information. And so now it takes actual gumption, okay, actual initiative to see it through. And for you to say that I can't just because, no, you can miss me with that. You can't. You can't. But that doesn't mean that I can't either. So, yeah. So, I mean, call me auntie. That's fine. But just know that auntie gotta have a life too. Y'all, it's so much going on. I literally don't know where to start. Like, we have, just snatching from the headlines, like a Lifetime movie. We have so many different things, from rap beef to people going to jail, getting indicted. It's a lot, even in women's sports. That's been a big thing when it comes to, and Portia and I spoke briefly on that on the last episode, about how college women's basketball has changed the game when it comes to just the viewership alone. I believe the last playoffs in the March Madness was like the highest rated or watched, college basketball game in history. Like, the tides are changing when it comes to that. And so in that same breath, they just had the drafts. And so the conversation about women and their compensation, I think is very important for this to be such a pivotal year in women's sports, and all the viewership and all the money and all of the, notoriety, the jerseys that were being, sold, all that stuff. And for you guys to sit up here and have a whole draft, and these beautiful, talented women, and they get drafted, and when they see the contract numbers for 3, 4, 5 years, and it equals the pay of a moderately lucrative mechanic, no shade to the mechanics, but something is a little uneven, don't you think? Don't you think that if these women are generating so much revenue for not only the teams that they work for, but for the city that they're playing in, for everyone that surrounds the game. For them to be coming out with a contract for $60,000 a year, that is insane. Now, we understand that there's endorsements. We understand that they're going to get money from other things outside of the sport or outside of, the team. But that's not right either. Like, if I'm generating all this revenue for your team, my team should be paying me. Point blank. Period. I don't understand how that's not coming across. Like, I don't understand how it doesn't connect. Like, yes, I should be getting endorsements, but I also should be getting paid from the same people who I'm making this much money for. So I thought that was strange. I didn't realize that they got paid that little. And that's not even the bench chick. That's not even the person that's coming off the bench. That's somebody who's starting and who's doing 30, 40 points a game, 12 assists, and 3 rebounds. That's who we're talking about is making $60,000 a year. Meanwhile, you have, yes, I know, NBA, male NBA, they have more viewership. They have all this blah, blah, blah. But their sixth man, or the person who's hadn't even touched a court since he got signed, is making at least $750,000. So how? So I'm just saying, Caitlin Clark, congratulations. Angel Reese, congratulations. All the other beautiful women, congratulations for scoring. A place on these teams. Congratulations to Ty Young. She just became an assistant coach for this Chicago team. All these great things, all these great feats, because let me tell you, the viewership is definitely going to go up in the WNBA because of, these women that's coming in. However, get what you need to get. And I say that again, get what you need to get. I don't care if Cocoa Puffs wants to make a commercial out it with you, get your check, okay? Because if these people aren't paying you on the court, you better use your likeness and your talent to get your bag. I don't make an appearance on a reboot of the Parkers, okay? Get your money, because let me tell you, they're gonna milk you until you're dry when it comes to your talent and your abilities. So I would say optimize your time at this moment and make connections, network, and do what you have to do to make this career work out for you. Because until they actually close this gap in women and men pay, we have to do what we have to do to get what we deserve, honestly. But again, congratulations. I'm super excited to even just be watching this game and watching them and seeing what they do in the WNBA. I'm going to stay away from any kind of legal conversations. This is not that kind of podcast. This podcast focuses on the career and the relationships and the evolution of women. But I feel like the conversation around the whole J.Cole and Kendrick and Drake rap, and I'm not even talking about it from a rap perspective, because this is not a rap podcast, and I can go on and on and on about that aspect. But I want to bring up this topic because if you haven't known, we all know now at this point that Drake, Kendrick, and J.Cole are, they were having some words back and forth from a decade-long, beef that they've been having. And I don't even want to use the word beef, because beef is very, it has like a more negative connotation from what's going on. And I really do think that this is more of like a battle of words between individuals who are at the top of the game right now. So I'm not talking about that. But what I want to bring up is just kind of how J.Cole during his Dream Fest, he apologized to Kendrick Lamar after he released a diss track about him, or a song that had some words about him and his catalog and all that good stuff. But he apologized for it because he felt like in his spirit, he didn't believe that was right, and he thought that was lame, and he didn't really want to be a part of the foolishness. Well, I kind of, he got a lot of backlash for that. He really did. I listen to podcasts, and every last single one of them has something negative to say about it. And while I do agree that I think that because he is so skillful, that he should have partook a little bit more in the playful rap battle, if you would say. But what I wanted to bring up was the kind of backlash that he did receive. I don't necessarily think that it all came from a place of just people wanting to see rappers, go at it as far as like wordplay and see who was the best. I really saw some people who wanted J.Cole to maybe act out of his own character, even though he blatantly told them that he didn't feel comfortable, just so that they can be entertained. And I bring this up because one of my favorite movies in the whole entire world is Gladiator. Gladiator featuring Russell Crowe. The concept of the movie is that this general unfortunately got sold into slavery because the guy who was, he was underneath eventually died, and his son was appointed king. His son really didn't like him like that. And so he kind of sold him into slavery to kind of get back at him, because he was like, I'm that guy now, so you're going to go into slavery. So, but in that movie, as a slave, he had to battle other, animals and other warriors with other slaves, just to kind of do fight to the death type of thing in the Colosseum. In that film, it really highlights how bloodthirsty humans can be. They're just really excited to see anybody who's doing worse than them or perceived to be worse than them lose. Isn't that weird? Like in that movie, they just had so much, excitement to see these slaves get torn up by these warriors and tigers and whatnot. And they didn't have a pot to piss in or when they were throwing it out themselves. A lot of them were peasants or low-class individuals themselves. But to see somebody doing worse than them just made them so happy. The famous line of the movie is the guy, the general who was a slave, was like, are you not entertained? He whooped this other person's behind, and then was like, are you not entertained? Just looking around like, are you not entertained? You know what I'm saying? Like, I got to do all this just for your cheer, and I'm out here fighting for my life. Fighting for my life just for you to be entertained. Like, I just thought that was wild. Like, and that's just kind of how we are. We scroll through our phones and we just trying to find something and someone in some place that is just doing terrible so that we can feel better about ourselves. We got to do better as a people. We got to do better as a people. I just thought that was crazy. Just, witnessing them come down on J.Cole so terribly, like almost to say he shouldn't make music anymore, that he's just the worst person in the world, and that he should quit. It's just like, dang, the man just said I didn't want to do this anymore. But because I decided to go with my spirit, because I decided to go along with something that felt right for me, everybody got something negative to say about it. Yes, when you put art out there, it is subject to ridicule. But to just tear somebody to shreds just because they wanted to go the higher route, what does that say about us? I don't know. I'm telling you, episode 25, we just going through it. Like, it's all the things that I've been thinking about the past few weeks now. And I'm just like, every time I scroll, I'm like, whoa, this is another thing and another thing. What else? So have you guys liked, share, or subscribe this episode yet? So how about you do this? How about you stop right here? You like, you share, and then you subscribe, okay? So to say thank you for, coming along the ride with me to episode 25 and being supporters of Pretty Suited, I'm going to offer a giveaway. I will be giving away a gratitude journal. So you can start doing your affirmations, you can start keeping up with your goals. So the first 50 comments with the words pretty suited will get this free gratitude journal for women. So go ahead and leave that comments below and I will contact you with a DM or some kind of message and you will get a link to the journal. So let's get back. Everybody's pregnant. Like, what's up with that? Like, I'm talking about everybody is pregnant. And when I say everybody, I'm not even just talking about celebrities, the celebrities that's on my timeline. I'm talking about regular people in my day to day. Everybody's pregnant. Is there something going on in the water? Like, was everybody excited that it was getting warm? I don't know. But I'm seeing a lot of pregnancies and I don't pass me no drink, okay? Because I don't want any parts of that. However, I am happy to see finally that Ashanti and Nelly, the spinning the block seemed to have worked. And my childhood faves that I've, been listening in the early 2000s, they decided to give their relationship another chance and now they're engaged and they are soon to be parents together. So congratulations to them. Ashanti has always been gorgeous to me. She always had a body that I was slightly jealous of, but a little bit, but a lot. Um, she has always just been a very beautiful woman. And Nelly has always been a looker, ain't no secret about that. So I already know this child is going to be not only talented, but very good looking. So kudos to them. I'm excited to see if they're having a boy or girl. And, she decided to keep most of it a secret or most of it kind of like, under wraps, which it was just understandable because people just always have something to say. And I can see how that negativity can kind of like just negatively impact your pregnancy and nobody wants that. So I'm glad she was able to keep it secret for as long as she could. But she was out there on that stage though. She was collecting those coins until she, is able to go on maternity leave. But and wearing her big shirts, but she wasn't saying a word about it until she was ready. So I definitely respect that because everybody wants you to act on their time and not your time. And sometimes when we try to appease others, then we end up paying for it in the end. So the fact that she chose herself and the fact that she chose to do things in a way that, made sense for her, I'm always cool with that. So, as long as it's not hurt nobody, I'm cool with that. So quick story time. I went to an event, right? Actually, it was kind of like a wine festival that we had here in the city. And a few friends of mine, we went out, we had a great time. This type of event, you just pay a fee and then you go to different tents that had different types of wine in it and you just try them out. These small glasses, kind of like this big of wine. And let me tell y'all, between the wine and the heat, I was feeling a little nice, right? But either way, while I was there, they had music, they had a great DJ and everything like that. My friends and I are dancing and stuff. But, I'm actively dating. And there's a guy across the, I guess, sea of people. There was a guy just standing there, right? Looking me dead in my face. Dead in my face. And I'm talking about he was an attractive man. He looked like he smelled good. He had on, a nice outfit and all of that good stuff. And I'm talking about he was staring me down. Like I'm almost to the point where I'm looking around like, is he looking past me or, whatever the case may be. And he just, smiled and Okay, I tried to, you know how you do your little two step and, your little stare, and just not too long, just maybe like 2 or 3 seconds. And then you look away, and then you look back after a while, and, just the little tit for tat that you do when you're flirting. And all these things happened. And I even just jigged a little bit closer, just a little jig, and he's still smiling and looking and but then all of a sudden his friend tapped him on the shoulder, and then they got to talking, and so I'm looking like, okay, I guess when he's done talking, maybe we'll resume our little dance, and my friend tapped me and was like, "You want to go get some more rosé?" I was like, "Sure." And so we left. So there literally nothing happened in that scenario. I know I'm not the only one where this has happened, and it's kind of frustrating. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about how the current scene of men and women meeting each other, like how that has changed a little bit in the past, I would say, decade. Let me take a sip as I get ready to say this. Honestly and truly, I feel that men have slowly but surely grown to be afraid. Not okay, maybe I shouldn't say afraid, because people are afraid of the word afraid. They're apprehensive. There we go. They're apprehensive to approach women as they did in the past because of all of the backlash they feel they may receive. And I know, okay, that's simple enough, right? But I don't think we understand the extent of how this is a thing. Now, there's always a guy who is bold enough to approach, to ask your name, give you a compliment, all those things like that. That's always a thing. I'm talking about quantity and quality. So while maybe 10 years ago, the finest man in the room had no problems talking to girls, approaching them, getting numbers, all that kind of work in the crowd, and that being a thing. Same thing with women. We show up, we looking good that night, we getting approached by all these different men, and, walking away with some prospects. Like that kind of was the going out, scoping the scene kind of like scenario. That was a script. However, I think in recent years, with the facade of the city girl and the girl who, is asking for a Birkin bag on the first date, and, men being a little bit creepy. And so women are kind of setting up these huge boundaries in the beginning, and, walls and whatnot. And I just think that we have kind of gotten to a point where men are like, I'm not even going to try unless I blatantly know the girl, or, she actually opens her mouth and talks to me first, type thing. Like the whole cold approach with, a compliment, and we get to talking, and that has become kind of a rare occasion. I've even seen Instagram posts and reels about, I'm talking about gorgeous women. And just like, I hadn't even had a guy approach me at all. Like, and yes, there could be several factors as to why that's true. Sure, she could have, had bad breath, or, what if she probably could look mean. I don't know, but I just think that I can't put my finger on it or articulate it the best, but I just know that I feel that men are more or less inclined, and even just consulting men in my own life, you know what I'm saying? I really think that the consensus is that they're more afraid to approach women now without blatant cues, without blatant, invitation, because of the fear of rejection, for one, how they may be rejected, right? Because we've seen videos of, girls being real loud with it, obnoxious with it, or rude or blunt with it, with the rejection. Or they are apprehensive because of fear of, whether she's going to think that he's assaulting her or being too creepy or anything that's kind of, almost on a legal tip. Like, I think that their reservations are preventing them from, and I think at the end of the day that's contributing to, the studies that's showing that most men are more alone today and without sex than any other time. Think about it. Like, your granddaddy, he was out there. Granddaddy was in the streets, okay? Granddaddy was at the little parlor. He was at the little kickback, juke joint party. Granddaddy was there, okay? Granddaddy was working the room. Granddaddy had his little pencil and paper, and he was getting those numbers. Point blank, he was slick Willie, smooth talking, okay? But I think, over the years, as, our awareness of, safety and what's acceptable and what's not, and behaviors and people going to jail and people digging up old stuff, like all of that has kind of put people in a fear of actually interacting. And don't even think about piling on the social cues that kind of got messed up during COVID. Oh, goodness. That completely messed up. Like, do I stand close? Do I, talk to you first? People are so used to talking through screens that they probably saw you on a dating app in the club. They scrolling through the dating app in the club as opposed to actually talking to women that's in their face. Isn't that crazy? Or retroactively, I've had this happen to me where they're retroactively DM me and say, "Did I see you in Publix? Did I see you in, at this event?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I was there." "Oh, snap. How you doing? How you been? Why didn't you say anything at the event while we were in person? Why are you waiting until we're behind screens to talk to me? Isn't that wild? Like, brother, just come and talk to me. I'm not going to bite. And even if I don't want to talk to you, I'm not going to bash you. I'm not going to, turn you into TMZ. I'm not going to do none of that. And even just them not wanting to be rejected. Nobody wants to be rejected. Sure. But let's go back to Grandpa Willie. Grandpa Willie probably got rejected a few times during his, nightly missions, right? Of finding a guile, right? He probably got rejected a few times. But that didn't stop him from saying, "Okay, well, she don't like me, on to the next one." He wasn't finna bash her. He wasn't finna clock her upside her head because she said no. None of that. He just was like, "Okay, well, Beth Ann over here has been giving me the eye. Sarah don't like me. I'm gonna go over here to Beth Ann." And he moved on. But I think now they're like deathly stuck in, the fear of rejection, that they're not even attempting to talk to women for real in person. If they don't know them. And I think that's going to be to our detriment, because honestly, women aren't natural predators like that. So yeah, you have women approaching men and, shooting their shot and all that cute stuff that they've come up with nowadays. But women aren't naturally like that for real. I don't care what anybody says. A woman's not naturally a seeker when it comes to finding a male. And probably no species is a woman like that. The male seeks the woman out. That's what happens in biology. And you know what I'm saying? The sperm seeks the egg. Like, what we talking about? The egg ain't looking for the sperm. What we doing? But at the end of the day, because we've had to acclimate to men kind of wanting to be pursued, now you have an influx of women actually shooting their shot. And does it work? Absolutely. Have I done it? Absolutely. But I think that men kind of being a little bit more apprehensive of being the pursuer now has led to less dating and less, of just kind of that interaction. So I don't know what to do. What do we do about that? What do we do? What's the remedy for that? Because I mean, I missed the house parties and the events where, we commingled and we didn't necessarily have to know them through somebody else, and all the checklists and the boxes and the prompts and all that for the dating app and all. I'm old school. Okay. I remember when we used to talk with each other and dance with each other at parties. I remember that. It was a good time. let's let's get back to that. Yeah, let me know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments if what can we do, and let's not turn this into a male versus women, a men versus women conversation. Let's not do that, because we have enough of that. I'm just talking about actual practical solutions that we can do to kind of like get us talking to each other again, because that'll be nice. So now we're going to get into our watch list of the week. So for this week's watches of the week, I want to talk about a movie that I saw a couple months back, actually. I was scrolling through Hulu, could not find anything to watch. And I noticed that there was, when I was watching the Oscars, I saw that they had a movie about Chippendales, like the origin story about Chippendales and how it came about. So I said, I want to check that out. So they had it on Hulu. And I had no idea the juiciness, the crime, the killings behind Chippendales. Like, so the movie starts out with, this guy who really just was a worker at a gas station, but he had a very business mind, and while the owner of the gas station just wanted him to advance, I'm sorry, spoiler alert, he just said, no, I want to open up my own business. So he decided to just maybe open up like a cigar club or like this little kind of game club that they had in LA in the 70s. And, it just didn't go well, right? So, he hired this guy to kind of like come on board and maybe be like his marketing guy to get people into the club or the lounge. And lo and behold, people started coming in, and then they started having like these guys who look good, and they start doing little routines, and it slowly advanced into something called Chippendales. And, the kind of like evolution of it and how it started to grow into a worldwide thing, people was dying behind that. Like, it was actual, hits being put, made on other people. And the guy eventually, I'm not gonna tell the end of it. It was kind of like shocking because I wasn't expecting that ending, because I never read up on the guy's story beforehand. But the way it ends is just like, oh, I had no idea. Like, it was such a good limited series that I recommend everybody watch that. Like, I had no idea. And I actually went to Chippendales one time when I was my first time in Vegas. I was like, young, and you just, hear about male, exotic dancers. And me and my friend, we actually went to the Chippendales. And when I tell you that, I was like, oh, this is like PG-13. This is kind of cute. They dancing to Backstreet Boys and whatnot with little Speedos on. But, the story behind that, I had no idea. So it was really, really good. It was nominated for an Oscar or Emmy or something like that, but it just didn't win. But it's really, really good. Check it out. It is the Chippendales on Hulu. And now we're going to get into our tune of the week. So this week's tune of the week, I have been, of course, all over the Metro Boomin and Future album, We Don't Trust You. They both have come out, and I have been playing them literally the past few weeks. Metro Boomin has done a great job with production. Future just does what Future does, okay, and make toxic male, female music, okay. And so I have been jamming to that. The highlight of the second album that just came out was the song with The Weeknd titled Young Metro. Man, that song right there, I have been playing it on repeat. Like when I tell you that song brings me back to old Abel Tesfaye, okay? Old The Weeknd, the trilogy Weekend, he had the same tone, he had the same kind of like airy voice to it, and it actually worked perfectly with Future's tone and Future's cadence. Like I didn't know that I needed those two to collaborate. And so that song, is very much top down at night with your boo, and it's kind of like you're getting ready to head to a lounge somewhere out to eat. Like that's the vibe I'm getting. So check that out. It is Young Metro with Metro Boomin, Future, and The Weeknd. So I hope you guys have enjoyed our 25th episode. As you can see, we're spicing things up here. I went ad lib. I didn't even have an outline tonight. I was just talking to y'all like I was talking to my friends. So again, I appreciate you guys' support all the time. Drop a question and maybe we'll add it to a segment of the episode. But as always, you cannot manifest the life you don't feel like you deserve. So create the life that you want and look to the sky for grace. Until next time, bye.